as these players have come very far. They've played a lot of games. Everything is on the line here, and spawning down in the bottom left side, it is indeed going to be Elfi showing us that he was, I mean, it did go to a game 3, but I feel like he was definitely in his comfort zone during those games. And up in the top right side, it does look like BLAST.Roof is saying, I've played a lot of ZVP today, which means maybe going into this, he's feeling confident because Elfi has been mostly playing PvP.
There's Elfi saying, haven't met any Zerg, only PvP, with a happy face and some kind of terrifying scar along the happy face's right eye, definitely above his second mouth. We see both players, I think most notably, saying we're both lucky. You don't get to the finals of a TSL qualifier via luck. Certainly didn't look very lucky in the semifinal match we've casted, but either way, I think this is a nice map to begin a best-of-5. Generally, Protosses say that the Zerg have a little bit of an edge here, but the fact is that with the construction of the map, Protosses have a very easy, fast 3 bases. So we see Protosses very comfortable playing on this map as well.
And it is also allowing the Zerg player to go for a third base as well. We did mention the multi-roach pronged attacks in the last series that took place on this map. And Sean also mentioned that Zerg or Protoss are adapting to learn on how to defend against that. Spawning pool going to be going down here for Roof right now. And we have seen him do this, I think it was in every game so far, getting out spawning pool first. And, you know, versus Protoss, he kind of have to do that because if you go for hatchery first, it is a big risk because that probe can block you so easily that I almost feel like it's in the single digits percentage chance you have of getting your hatchery down right when you want to. As the probe is continuing to be a pest here, the forge is going to be going down as well, so completely standard stuff here out of both players.
You know, I do think that it can be a little bit of a meta gameplay where you're going for this early pool. It's very easy to catch some players off guard who just see a pool first and they don't really look at the timing. They just see that a pool is down and go, all right, cool. I don't see a gas. I'm going to go Nexus first, and you can snap those ones off. But Roof sort of, interestingly, doesn't need that to be able to succeed, as what we've seen him do instead is get these early 4 lanes and just hunt down that one probe, man. Like one of those lion hunters in the Ghost in the Darkness, just brutal, sitting on top of one of those wooden platforms with an elephant gun.
Is able to find the probe
I think I just transitioned into a movie I liked. Looks like Elfi will be forced to retreat, and I think that, again, important to note that once that probe dies, you'll see Roof very, very carefully reposition all those Zerglings to scour the map.
You have the second queen on the way now. Kind of curious to see if he goes for that creep tumor right away like we've seen in previous games, allowing him to swing back and forth, although we didn't see the best creep spread in the mid and late games because all the games he was in ended up being very wonky. They were games that are not standard by any stretch of the imagination, and so I'm curious to see in a standard game if he's able to get that creep spread going. But Sean, we do see him going for such an early third once again, and do you think this is a good choice on this map, or does he just like playing greedy?
You know, I think that this is almost always the correct play on this map to get the 3 hatches up. I think there's just 3 big deviations that you can do. The most common one by far being the double gas at 6 minutes, going for the standards of Roach defense. There's a little bit more non-standard gases at 4:30 to 5 minutes, but occasionally you'll see players go a little bit greedy town on this map and get a 4th hatch up before doing much else, perhaps getting gas a little earlier for the link speed, but then going all-out macro. Given what we've seen of Roof, he'll probably just be going for a more 6-minute-ish timing and probably teching up to that Ling Muta we've seen him love so much.
Ling Muta, a very strong build on this map. It does allow you to do the different routes of attack, especially if that third base does go down for Protoss. Up finishes, the Cybernetics core immediately begins that warp gate research as you would expect. There's really only so much interesting stuff a Protoss player can do at this point if he decides to forge fast expand. It is in the next couple of minutes where we'll really start to see the build diversify a little bit. Down goes the robotics here. I believe that is after just the first gateway. Yes, it is. He always has access to that +1 attack if he decides to go to it. With that +1 attack, you kill Zerglings in 1 less swipe, so it can be very useful for Zealot timings. But right now, Roof is just continuing with a lot of drones, and we really haven't seen him tech up all that much. We don't see that ridiculous early lair or anything like that just quite yet.
So I want to talk a little bit about the meta game, Husky.
Please do, Sean.
In general, there's always those benchmark strategies that whenever you think of a strat, you think, well, I better be able to beat that. It's like in PvP when you say something like, oh, I have a good strat, but I don't know if it loses to a 4-gate or not. Well, that's pretty bad. You need to get testing that right away. In TvP, it tends to be the 1-1-1. In this matchup, it's increasingly becoming this very fast robo into 6-gate push with a warp prism. All Zerg players need to have an answer to that, and it looks like BLAST.Roof's answer is to get a ridiculously fast layer yet again at 7 minutes. He's getting that 7-minute early layer because this Overlord positioned over the natural expansion, that Overlord sees these two Vespene gas geysers going down. So no early timing push at 8 minutes, but likely a delayed timing push at 9:30.
That's going to allow the layer to kick in here. The Roach Horn going to be finishing up here. Does he go for the Roach upgrades right away? A lot of Zerg players have realized just exactly how good Roaches are. For a long time, we saw Zerg players going Roach Hydra, but not as much focused on almost pure Roach. We do see the Immortal on the way. Sentries now on the way here. And the build here that our Protoss player is going, Sean, is this an all-in, or is he looking to expand here with his pretty robust force?
It really depends on whether or not you see the Warp Prism pop down after Immortal number 2 or 3. You can go for expands like this. It used to be 4 gateways was the classic amount for an expand, but it's increasingly gone up to 5 or 6 as Zerg players are being so aggressive with that Ling Roach early pressure. So knowing Elfi's style, I would anticipate an expand at this point in time, but we do see yet another 2 gateways going down. So my God, Husky, I am just going to be super duper 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 wrong in this game number 1.
And the Overseer is going to be super duper duper right, scouting the correct way, able to spot the Robo, able to spot the additional gateway.
And able to get away! Oh!
And the Sentries, they just do absolutely no damage.
Tickle, 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 tickle. He managed to escape.
Warps in more Sentries here as well. So he's definitely gearing up to attack here, and that means that Roof is going to delay any more drone production. Is working on Burrow as well as that Glial reconstitution. So again, he's beginning to upgrade those Roaches, get them out in overwhelming numbers. A lot of Zerglings on the way. The Observer is going to spot this as well. So really it's going to come down to who's got the most units here. And so far, I want to say our Zerg player is looking to be in pretty good shape. He is going to try to engage here. Gets us around on the units, and the force field way too late. And hello, vulnerable Immortals, but actually managing to save them somehow, but did lose a lot of Sentries.
Oh, losing 2 more Sentries at the last second there. And look at the position that Roof finds himself in. He's up against a pretty much null army out of Elfi. He already has Burrow, Ling speed, lots of Lings, lots of Roaches, and he has managed to shut this push down on Elfi's side of the map. This timing from Roof is just, it's a miracle. It's amazing. Almost every Zerg player loses to this opening, but we see BLAST.Roof just wrecking it, making it look even bad.
Yeah, he definitely probably practiced against this build quite a bit before coming into this tournament, and especially since he even said before the game, I've played a lot of PvZ today, which means he knows the timings. They're the freshest memory on his mind, and the Overlord does get pushed away, but begins immediately pooping once again. So that third base is going to be heavily delayed. Elfi, very heavily supply blocked here. The pylon's going to be finishing up here. But considering he's hovering 1,000 resources, our Zerg player is gearing up for an attack. He cannot afford to be hovering any money once this attack actually happens here. So needs to make sure to get the big warp into units and prepare himself as best he can for this attack, which is going to be upcoming here, as he does have a lot of Zerglings now, a lot of Roaches outside of that base. And look at the production here, Sean.
I mean, I love the fact that he's transitioning more into Zerglings, getting those extra upgrades up, trying to engage and waste some of those force fields. Look at that amazing force field waste by Roof. Elfi now is against the wall. He has no third, and Roof knows it. So what is Roof doing? He's transitioning to Mutalisk and Infestor. If he has enough time, he would love to be able to get some of those Infestors up if Elfi's really dedicating to this. But if Elfi tried to go for an expand, he could easily transition to Mutalisks and counter that down. Seems a little wasteful to get both, but when you're this far ahead, Roof is covering all possibilities. Looks like doing a little bit of damage, darting back and forth, trying to bait those force fields, and there we do see that Pathogen Glance upgrade is coming. Nothing but Lings in production. He still needs another 25 seconds to be able to get those Infestors out.
Right now, Roof is hovering a lot of resources himself, but most likely stockpiling larvae. Yep, he is up to 25 larvae there, so he can immediately dump those into a lot of Lings. He does. 44 Lings on the way. And right now, I love, well, number one, here's a counterattack. I don't think it's going to do much, though. There are 4 candidates here to defend. A Warp Prism is on the way. He may actually just decide to go for it here, as we could see a base race, although that's a lot of Lings. so I don't know
wow,
if going to get in there, but that's also a lot of sentries here. The Roach is about to crack the defense here. Can they get down the cannons? 1, 2, and 3 have fallen. The fourth one going to fall here, surely. This army, only 3 units seem to be attacking. Down go the Infestors,
ouch,
and he's going to march right into this third.
This is an unusual decision by BLAST.Roof, but he is getting that guaranteed damage down at the front, and we see Elfi trying to slowly reach up around. But look at the massive army supply size from Elfi, up at 105 food to BLAST.Roof's 111, and there are a good amount of roaches in there, 117, 118 Zerglings out on the map right now. It does look like we're going to see BLAST.Roof lose that infestation pit, lose the Spire. Perhaps his only poor decision this game has been leaving those 2 essential tech structures at the vulnerable third base, and there it looks like Roof is just trying to funnel this big army into that tight crevasse and get some mega fungals out like that. Oh my god! Oh
usually want an army to surround at the same time, but he says, I'm going to take this opportunity, but the force field there trapping the Infestors.
And the burrow!
They're able to escape there. This army has taken lots of damage. Another fungal hits the entire army. The Roach is still denying any bases on the left side. It's going to come down this army.
Gosh, the fungals!
Is it enough to do the damage he needs to here, though? Because the Zerg player is nearly maxed out. Here he goes. He finally decides now's the time to go. Where's the force fields? There they are, but they are a little too late. However, this army still remains. It's looking mighty terrifying with that +1 attack. These Zerglings will just melt away, but can he get
counterattack is the choice from BLAST.Roof. He's going to run all his units away from these this army. Excuse me, not counterattack. He's going to retreat up to this third base up at the top side. Looks like he is going to be doing another main sacrifice, and I mean, I gotta say, I think this is actually the correct decision, Husky.
Yeah, and right now, I just don't know what can Roof do. He needs to make sure to get the perfect surround on this army. The sentries do have enough energy to continue force fielding that ramp for quite some time. The drones are going to be transferring away to this fully, almost oversaturated base right now. And you got to remember that Elfi only has the income off of his main base. These mineral patches are dwindling. They're seconds away from dying. His income is still that of a full base, but as soon as they disappear, then that is going to end very quickly. Every single drone getting taken out here. The force field still preventing this army from being able to move down the ramp. The Infestor not having enough energy to do anything very useful. And right now the Warp Prism is done, but I don't think he can afford to warp in that many units.
Elfitaya now retaking his natural expansion up at the top of the new main of BLAST.Roof. We see a lot of spines going down. We see no spores. Again, not really a likely time for any kind of Dark Templar at this point, unless Elfi is, of course, using the classic mantra of when behind Dark Shrine, but Elfi's a little bit too good for that. BLAST.Roof does have a nice containment there, but he has to keep an absolutely acute eye on that front natural expansion. He needs to make sure he gets those fungals off when the army comes down, and instead walks away. I'm not sure about this choice from BLAST.Roof. I think he's realizing he just doesn't quite have enough Infestors, and now he's going to be forced to cancel this expansion in the bottom right.
Needs that expansion very desperately, and indeed he needs to at least cancel it to save some of that money. Although I don't know if he has enough units or enough larvae to even use it. Nope, doesn't get the cancel off. Goodbye drone, goodbye 300 minerals. The spine crawlers are now done, slowly moving out, but he's just tucked away in one corner of the map. And I think counterattacking right now to force Elfi back may be the better choice, because he thinks the expansion is down there, realizes no, it is not, and the Roaches could once again deny this expansion here. However, I just think he's too out of position right now. We do have 10 Zerglings on the way, but does he have enough to get out enough units? Double hatcheries on the way, so he's just covering a lot of resources. How is he supposed to spend them? Does he decide to go for it now? Oh. Yes, he does, but he decides, whoa, that's way too much, and is going to retreat. The fungals go down. The Infestors are completely vulnerable right now, though, and if any of these go down, which they do, that is going to be a devastating
no, he's going to lose
loss.
the back one with a lot of energy. A nice fungal at the last second to help do a little bit of abating damage, but we see the 2 hatcheries are in production. He has a lot of those spine crawlers up in the Northlands. He has the Spire done. He has no gas to be able to use this. Gosh, BLAST.Roof is just leaping gleefully into absolutely crazy games. Perhaps his major blunder this game was not building a giant wall of spines to defend after he lost his third base, relying just on the Infestor Ling, but didn't quite have enough. Elfi appropriately readjusting to primarily Zealots in that mixture. We see Elfi now advancing yet again. Some big fungals, but unless they get past that shield damage, Elfi is just going to heal nicely back up, and suddenly BLAST.Roof is going to be in a lot of trouble.
You don't want to engage in a choke point right now. Nice fungals on the Zealots, but I just don't think he has enough. He wants to engage on the spines. He decides now's the time, and, well, he doesn't really have a choice here because Elfi's knocking at the front door. Fungals going down about as good as they can, but the Roaches are trapped on the left side, and the Infestor's completely out of energy now, and I think this is going to be it here for Roof, having such awesome games all day today, but it is not going to be enough here in the very last game. It looks like Elfi deciding actually to retreat here. What do you think about this, Sean?
Well, it appears that he's just going to make sure that he regroups properly. We saw a lot of fungals go down that didn't do hull damage. They only did shield damage. Pulling back here, just checking other expansions will help him keep his opponent contained, but more importantly, let him get a little bit of extra shield back. Now we see Elfi is getting that extra Templar Archives up. Elfi has a lot of gas built up and isn't even mining out of the two guys with his natural expansion yet. And when he gets those up, he's going to be able to get all of the Archon Templar that he needs. An attempted counterattack by Roof going to be ineffective as there's been a ton of cannons built up at the front of the base, and now BLAST.Roof looks like he's on the slow step out, going just Ling and Fester, but soon enough he's going to be up against Zealot Templar with a few Archons and all the rest of that army at his front.
Yeah, I mean, he still has that +1 attack, which has been helping him a lot throughout this game. The Warp Prism finally going into action here. Not sure if he's going to be able to do anything effectively because there is still those spines at that base. Could warp in behind the base or just warp reinforcements on the front line. There's the huge warp in of High Templar. That's going to be 3 Archons, 1, 2, and 3. Not a whole lot he can do here. He doesn't have anything that's actually good versus Archons. The Fungal's not going to be that useful. The Zergling's definitely not that useful. And all of a sudden he is backed into a corner here with no expansions remaining. I love that he's trying to expand to the corners, but can the Fungals be enough here? I don't think so. Down goes 1 and 2, but he is just quickly running out of units. He has not got anything left. He can't get the surround he needs, and unfortunately he is not made of energy. He only has enough for 1 or 2 additional Fungals. There goes Lynx, deciding to finally commit, but the Archons are just going to eat them up, and there's the GG from game number 1.